Okay, good morning, students, and welcome to LSK3701 Life Skills Science and Technology Teaching in the Foundation Phase. I am your lecturer, Mrs. A. Carrim, and you can email me on ecarrier1@unisa.ac.za. So today's presentation is just about going through the tutorial letter 101, which is very important for you to understand. For LSK3701, remember it's a year module in the Department of Early Childhood Education and Development. So the purpose of this module is basically for you to, be able to successfully teach relevant concepts and process skills related to science and technology teaching within the foundation phase curriculum. You will also be able to engage foundation phase learners, to experiment, to discover, to explore their world, and also using basic scientific processes, in terms of observing, classifying, experimenting, predicting, giving them opportunities to draw conclusions and communicate their ideas to others as well. So furthermore, you'll also develop self-reflective practices to be able to mediate the science and technology curriculum through the application of appropriate teaching strategies and methodologies to suit different contexts. So as a soon-to-be UNISA graduate, you need to ensure that you have distinctive graduate qualities. This means you need to show independence, you need to be resilient, responsible, a responsible and caring citizen, and able to fulfill and serve in multiple roles in your immediate and future local, national, and global communities. So if you have a critical understanding of your location, especially within the African continent, and taking account of its histories, challenges, potential in relation to globally diverse contexts. We also would like you to be able to critically analyze, evaluate the credibility and usefulness of information that you receive, as well as data from multiple sources, especially in this technology-driven world and in a globalized world with ever-increasing information and data that flows, and also to understand competing worldviews. You need to apply your discipline-specific knowledges, competently, ethically, and creatively to solve real-life problems, and also have an awareness of your own learning and the developmental needs and future potential of our young learners as well. So the study materials required to get started with this module is your TAT 101, which we're discussing today, as well as your LSK 3701 study guide, which is available on the module site. I'm not too sure if it appears now in the official study material, but it has been uploaded under the orientation section as well. So let's look at the assessment criteria for LSK 3701. Being a year module, I think it's very important that you understand that it's a blended assessment approach. So by blended, we mean there's a final examination and a supplementary examination that follows after your assessments. You have basically two formative assessments throughout the year to assess your ongoing progress with respect to the attainment of the outcomes. So these two assessments are mandatory, which means the mark contributes to your year mark. I have a lot of students that come to me and ask, if we submitted one, will we enter the exam? I am, stressing the importance of both assessments. Please do not try to take a chance. I cannot account for, when it comes to exam entrance, that is the university decision and according to university policy. So I would advise you not to risk that at all. So if you fail to submit a mandatory assessment, no mark is awarded, and the year mark is basically calculated accordingly. So both your assessments are mandatory. You must work consistently to ensure that you submit assessments before the due date and time. The assessments really encourage critical awareness and reflection by you as students, and it implies that you must take responsibility for your own learning and monitor your own progress, especially since you have 6 learning units. You must use, the assessment feedback that you get. You will get assessment feedback after, TAT. I think in TAT 201, that's what it would be named. And you learn from your mistakes and basically improve for your examination. There will be no extensions for assessments and no email assessments or exam scripts, that can be accepted over email. And this is actually mentioned time and time again, but we still have students emailing, and it's something that you have to understand. When it comes to assessments, it needs to be uploaded on the system. Otherwise, it's like you have never submitted. When it comes to assessment plan, to complete this module, you will be required to submit 2 assessments, like I said, and the information about the assessments are already available on the My Module site. So you will see the open date and due date. There will be a date specified on when it opens and when it closes. You need to work within that period and make sure that you diarize this. Due dates for assessments as well as the actual assessments are all available there. So to gain admission to the examination, you will be required to submit both assessments. Please, students, this taking a chance of submitting only one assessment is risking your exam entrance, and it's something that I cannot confirm. So I would advise you to make sure that you submit both assessments. It is mandatory, and to gain admission to the examination, you will need to obtain a year mark of at least 50% for the assessments. The formative assessment weighting for the module is 20%. So you will receive, when it comes to the examination, the information will be posted closer to the time. So I do not have your examination date or whether you can enter exam. All of that information is only given once you've submitted assessments, once the exam period is closer to that time. So the summative examination will count 80% towards your final module mark. So that means your examination counts a bulk, most of the final mark contribution. So you have your quiz, assessment 1, which will test you from learning unit 1 to 6. So remember, you need to already, start with familiarizing yourself with the content in learning unit 1 to 6, so that the assessment 1 quiz is, simpler for you to get through. Assessment 2 is a written assessment. This is where we basically testing your application of knowledge. So it's very important that you really engage with the content, work through the activities, the self-reflective activities, so that when it comes to assessment 2, you're able to really understand what the question is about and how to apply what you've gone through very thoroughly in your study guide. The examination will also test you on all the content, and it will count 80%. And also it's more about the application of knowledge. And remember, you're at NQF level 7 now. So it will be 50% level 5 and 6 questions, whereas 40% level 3 and 4, and level 1 and 2 will only be around 10%. So it's very important that you really engage with the content to be able to pass this module. That takes time to understand the assessment plan. I think it's very important that you understand the exam entrance component. If you don't gain exam entrance, it means that you won't be allowed to write the examination. And that's how important the assessments are, which is mandatory. And it also, contributes to your year mark. And if you fail to submit a mandatory assignment, remember, no mark is awarded. Like I said, the mark is calculated accordingly, and you as a student will forfeit the marks attached to the assessment when the final mark for the module is calculated as well. So you have different forms of assessment, but remember, for LSK3701, it's mandatory assessments. That is compulsory. So I just want to run through how to submit assignments. I've noted that a lot of students, do find it difficult in terms of submission. But I know you're at 4th year level now, so this may not be a concern for you. But just to remind everyone that you basically use your My Module site to access your assessment shells that you need to complete, and you will get a quiz, which is your assessment 1, which is a multiple choice. You'll get a mixture of true and false, match column A, column B, fill in the missings, that sort of thing. And all assessments must be completed within the assessment shell. You will have the written assessment as well, and that is where you download the assessment, have time to, complete it, and then re-upload it. So remember, when it comes to completing your quiz, you need to ensure that you complete it within the time available to you. And remember that it is not advisable to use a cell phone to complete quizzes, and you should please use a desktop computer, tablet, or laptop for this task. Students who use cell phones generally note that it's difficult to navigate the online assessment tool on a small screen, and they often struggle to navigate between questions and successfully complete the quiz at the end. So in addition, cell phones are also more vulnerable. If the internet drops, then you've lost everything that you've done. So if at all possible, please do not use a cell phone for this assessment type. For written assessments, please note that the due date by which your work must be submitted. This also applies to the quiz. Ensure that you follow the guidelines given, and also remember that you need to upload the correct assessment. We find a lot of students uploading assessments from other modules, or just a blank page or corrupt file, or whatever the case may be. And this is where you need to remember that no marks can be allocated for incorrect submitted assessments. And it's really sad to see some students going through this. So I'm just reminding you, very early in this year, that you need to be very vigilant on how you submit your assessments. And also, I need to remind you that of the invigilation and proctoring tools that UNISA uses since 2020. UNISA has conducted all its assessments online, and given the requirements, imposed by professional bodies, and to ensure the integrity of the assessment, so we are basically using things like Turnitin, Moodle proctoring, the invigilation app, things like that, to authenticate the student's identity and also flag suspicious behavior, to assure the credibility of your responses, that you are indeed doing the assessments yourself. So remember, Turnitin is a plagiarism software which facilitates checks for originality in your submissions, and it will also indicate things like AI and all of that. So please remember that it is going to assist us to identify students who are not doing their own assessments and using AI responses, as well as information from other sources without referencing. So remember that your assessment will be going through Turnitin, and the Moodle system also does notify us of the quiz side as well. So the Invigilator app is for your exam period. And remember, the Invigilation app is something that takes recordings at different intervals. So we basically can hear you while you're writing your exam. If you are getting help from other students, we can also, we are also given a report if you're sitting next to each other during the exam. And yeah, so there's a lot of things that the Invigilation app does. It also shows if scripts are identical, or there's comparisons between the scripts. So it picks up a lot of things that you might not be aware of. So just remember, the exam will be done under these conditions, and it's important for you to understand this so that you start preparing very early in the year for this module. There is no shortcuts for LSK3701. You really need to go through the content, engage with it, understand, work through the activities, really, really, really pay attention to the content so that you're able to do your assignment successfully as well as your exam. A reminder to read announcements weekly, participate in the discussion forums that are going to be created. And remember, academic dishonesty will really affect you in the long run and to complete your degree. So plagiarism is also, something that you need to understand. The act of taking words, ideas, and thoughts of others and presenting it as your own, copying and pasting from any sources, not including references, paraphrasing without acknowledging the source of information. It's not always where you need to reference in this module, because you're going to apply the knowledge. So whatever you learn in the content, you're going to apply it to different themes. So you also need to understand that it really does take a lot of effort and time and effort to go through this module and really understand the content so that you can answer the questions and show your understanding and application thereof. So cheating also, we are noting that students get others to complete their assessments on behalf of each other, and also copying from other students. We're also aware of using the social media platforms, whether it be WhatsApp, Telegram, where assessment information are disseminated. So remember, that is very important that you do not do things like that, especially when you're writing an assessment or exam. Do not communicate over social media. Those things are also picked up. We have a lot of things that come back to the university as well as our department. Submitting corrupt or irrelevant files will result in you not getting any mark whatsoever. And especially these things where you buy completed answers from, tutors or internet sites. We have been noting a lot of scams going around. You really need to be aware of these things. Do not fall into the trap. No one can write an exam for you or assessment for you without you being caught. So just make sure not to engage in such activities. This is just a reminder. I think I did note about it earlier, but late submissions, no submissions can be accepted via email. So just remember to diarize your due dates and times so that you don't fall into this thing where you didn't submit and you're expecting your email submission to be accepted by me as a lecturer. I will not able to do anything in that sense, because university policy does not allow us to do this. So please just do understand where I'm coming from as well, because I find that students don't understand why I can't accept it. Incorrect assignments, like I said, you might just save the assessment incorrectly. Like, for instance, here I've saved it as ELD 1501. This will be in your case, you will save it as LSK3701. Remember about corrupt files. There's nothing we can do about it. And plagiarism is something that you really need to understand, while doing assessments as well as the exam. And my plea with you is do not wait until the last day, an hour to upload assignments. Unfortunately, in terms of technology, it can always keep up on us. We can maybe have a problem where we can't, get onto the site on that specific time. Technical glitches do come around, but in terms of the due date and time, it will be that it was open for a period of time, and now you need to submit before that. This module is basically divided into two sections. So you get your section A, your science education, learning unit 1 to 3, and section B, technology education, learning unit 4 to 6. But you will see that there's a lot of overlapping between the learning units. That's why I encourage you to work from learning unit 1 to 6 in order, so that you gain the necessary knowledge and insights to go to the next unit. So just an outline of the learning unit content. Learning unit 1 has science literacy, the nature of science, learning science through inquiry, scientific concepts, how concepts develop, as well as a conceptual change in learning of science with young learners, and also how the important role of language and the learning of science. When you look at learning unit 2, you will have a better understanding of how young learners' thinking process is developed in science. You'll also understand the big ideas and concepts that are very important when doing team planning, scientific knowledge, as well as the habits of mind, habits of body, and science process skills, which are so important in teaching science and science in the foundation phase. When it comes to learning unit 3, you'll also learn how to develop learning using the curriculum as a starting point. Also the approaches of teaching science to young learners, and also be able to create and develop daily lesson planning for inquiry-based team planning, and considering the assessment for science learning as well. When it comes to learning unit 4, you'll also have key concepts that you need to, understand before going into the content. Understand the problem-solving nature of technology, the design process as taught in technology education, the content areas for technology education, as well as how the integration of language and mathematics can, within the technology education spectrum as well. Learning Unit 5, defining key concepts. You'll also understand the fourth industrial revolution, the 4IR, digital technology and digital childhood, digital literacy and the 21st century skills, as well as, how to access digital resources for the foundation phase and understand the TPAC framework. That is also very important when considering using technology in the classroom. Learning Unit 6, you will understand the design process skills and a lot about team planning, based on the stages of the design process, and how you can integrate team plan based on the stages of the design process, and also looking again at the assessment in technology education. So when we talk of a study plan, I would advise you all to, consider the weeks you're going to concentrate on learning unit 1, learning unit 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is when it's a year module, you have that time to, to really concentrate on the content. And remember, before assessment 2, you need to have a very good understanding of all 6 learning units, because you want to be able to really apply your content. So it's very important that you start very early in the year. As soon as you register, you need to understand what this module is about, work through activities as you read through a learning unit 1, access the relevant additional resources. There's some links in the study guide that are important for you to watch, in terms of YouTube videos. Prepare the self-assessment questions. I would have a book with all my, with all your activities per learning unit. Participate in the discussion forum activities where possible, and work on completing the assessments, while you're doing this. You can focus on all of this at the same time, with learning unit by unit. And remember, the quiz does test you on all 6 learning units as well as the assessment too. So there needs to be action immediately when you access or when you register for this module. So this is just a study plan to, to remind you that there's all of these things that you need to do for each learning unit. And it will give you a good indication of, of how you're understanding the, the content. And if you participate in discussion forums, you might find that you learn from another student, or you may have not understood the question correctly, but now you can do the activity, do corrections, things like that. So it's a reflective practice that you need to put into your study routine. And please keep in mind that you will be expected to apply your knowledge and skills gained in this module in the teaching practice component linked to this module. And I just want to remind you, students, that you really need to take responsibility for your own learning. Engage with the content, reflect on the knowledge, critically engage, analyze, and make meaning of it. And as a teacher, as a thinking teacher, you need to ask yourself, what does this information mean for me in my context? You might be teaching already, or you have a community that you probably are doing your practicals in. So please consider all of this and take initiative, be independent, be persistent, take a sense, make a sense of responsibility for your learning, be self-disciplined. Yeah, but enjoy your learning at the same time, and have the self-confidence to write a post in the discussion forum. No question is not, every question is important, because you're learning. This is a platform to learn, to show active participation. Everyone has the potential to learn from each other. So just remember that we want to discover new approaches for dealing with problems. You want to use learning strategies that work in your environment. So have that positive orientation, to learn and to be creative, and to really structure your learning this year from early on, so that you don't fall behind and open a study guide just when you basically are going to do an assessment or do your exam. Just remember, it's very important to understand that these modules really require you to engage with the content and do the activities, understand every section well, so that if you're given something in the assessment or the exam to apply, it's not something you need to rush to your study guide. You already have that understanding and you're able to apply it using different themes and examples. And you're able to, at the end of the day, use it in your career as a teacher in the foundation phase. That's all from me today. Thank you so much for listening to this presentation. I think it gives you a better idea of what is expected from this module, and I look forward to supporting you through this module in 2025. All the best, students.